Welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about Ssangsu Geombup Shipban, Form 10, Part 2. Yeah! Yeah! I really hope this isn't like offensive to some people that I'm not familiar with, but anyway, it's a fun way to have two, right? So, part 2, right? So the idea is we have just entered a knee-high, or maybe slightly knee-high, something like that, watery area, right? We're starting to fight, doing all sorts of cool stuff. But we're here, we're in our pretty standard, again, Gumdo and Yaido and Kendo and all that fun stuff. Very, very common fighting guard of our middle guard, right? So the idea is we're going to introduce a move that I have mixed feelings about, right? So in terms of the longevity of your sword, it's a little rough and tumble with it. Unfortunately, it actually does work in sparring as well. So, you know, keep that in mind, right? So the idea is, now notice again, there's not as much of that back foot. Remember, we're in knee-high water, right? So it's not going to be as succinct with the footwork. But the idea is, along that same 45-degree angle, I'm going to bring it up, almost like you're going to do like a third of a cut. Bring it up, hit, bring it up, full cut. So the idea is, so I've heard this from a master, if you can hear your sword, theoretically you shouldn't hear it on the first strike. Because theoretically, instead of using edge for this one, you're like slightly one way or the other to mitigate the damage to your edge. To what degree that's true in terms of historical stuff, I don't know. If you look at a lot of the historical stuff, we do see a lot of damage to the back of the swords, especially, at least for one-hand motions, right? This is not one hand, I just thought that was fun. Anyway, but to whatever degree that's true, for me, in terms of sparring and stuff like that, first of all, we don't have to worry about edge being destroyed because we're not sparring with live-edged weapons. Don't spar with live-edged weapons. Don't be stupid. But the reason why I'm iffy about that is having that edge alignment is a lot stronger. Like the moment you're off on even a little bit, you lose a lot of that structural integrity. So at least for my students and for when we spar, I am okay if I hear a small little whistle on that first one. But the idea is I am striking a sword out of the way and either aiming for the wrist, or if I'm deep enough, aiming for the head or a nice, more vital area. But the idea is we're here, we strike, we full cut. Using the back of the sword, we're going to hit up. Either, again, this could be hitting the sword out of the way, it could be a strike to the wrist, or it could just be to get momentum, right? We're going to hit up, spin, two-handed uppercut. It used to be one-handed. And then from there, we're going to do a really fun kind of move. We're going to, this is all at speed. We're going to grab, we're going to step, and we're going to unwind, overhead spin, and chakgam, half chakgam. Notice we're going to have our sword mostly away, but not fully away. Now, some of you might be looking at that form and be like, wait, there's something you mentioned in that previous video on Form 10 that you didn't do right there, and that is the cut below knee. So, full disclosure, this could also be my brain malfunctioning. So I'm fairly certain this was a distinction that was made, but just full disclosure, I might be unintentionally lying, so we'll see. So the idea is, with my sword below, knee-high water, also not nice, also salt water, keep that in mind. Splash! get water in their eye, and then you cut them, and then you go off to the sunset and do, let me do that from the side as well while I'm just monologuing. So we're here, splash in the eye, cut them, grab, and overhead spin. So that overhead spin, theoretically get, again, the water and the blood away from that before we wipe and put the sword away, right? We're gonna do what we call a half chakam, or a half put away. Notice, again, this motion is supposed to represent me taking a little tenugui, and I'm gonna clean it, and I'm gonna put it away. Also, you wouldn't necessarily put the sword away in the middle of a fight anyway, but whatever. So, theoretically, the sword is now clean from that salt water, which apparently, in the mindset of this form, is worse for your sword than theoretically the blood of your enemy. Anyway, so we're here now. I'm going to face you because that's going to make a little bit more sense. We're going to draw. I'm going to move off to the side, cut again on a left diagonal while I'm moving slightly to my right, slightly to my, cutting over my right shoulder, slightly to my left, overhead, going straight in, center cut. Before we go into, I just like this, it's just fun. I'm going to shift my front foot into a yoke sorose, right? So remember in form 6, shift as I bring my sword up. So notice my tip is honed at your throat and not covering. This is a guard. This is not meant to be a defense. This is me thinking about what I can do against you from here. So this is a fun one. This is reminiscent, if you've ever done a longsword, of Fenestra. This is, I think, Vadi? Fenestra, right? Or this might actually be Fiore. I don't remember which one it is, but have some fun with that, right? So let's do that a little more smoothly because I did that very awkwardly. So from here, draw. Again, all one target by moving around, trying to land, and then I'm in a guard. So theoretically, I was successful with that center cut, but I was still able to navigate and move around. I really like the idea, again, very reminiscent of Form 9, moving on angles to try to get some sort of strike. In the event, a side angle works, right? So we partially put our sword away, we draw, cut, notice it's still above knee, cut, above knee, cut, shift, right? You can really have some fun and get down in that guard. Now notice you shouldn't be doing this, you should be still here. And a last note before we move on, and there's not much left to that form, honestly, so that's going to be the last in part 10, or not part 10, part 3 in Form 10, is there's an idea we can play with for that hitting motion. It's something that happens a little bit later, especially in Bangkok. That's the name of the form, geez. Is I make contact and then I roll with it. So almost like you're going to be using the soft part to actually do the grinding, but you still make contact with the edge. It's a thought. It's a thought in it, right? But notice in the form, you're not going to see people do this. So it's something in practice if you want to try, just to have some fun with it. I haven't seen much reward for doing that, but it is something that we see in later forms where you do a knee block and it rolls up. That's something going to be a lot more common then. But with that, make sure you stay safe, stay humble, and keep training.